Buenos dias, buenos dias. We have some news about Picasso Network, SAGA Airdrops, Axelar Network, also a brand new airdrop for Dymension stakers. But first things first, Robinhood received a wealth notice yesterday from the SEC, which immediately tanked the markets. The SEC really keeps doing what they can to harm crypto, to push it back, and also to push out crypto entrepreneurs, startups, and companies outside of the US, to really push them offshore. They're really forcing them to leave the US, which is very, very unfortunate. But it is what it is. Now also Robinhood has the SEC in their neck. On the other hand, we have great news from the ETF flows. We're seeing another massive green day yesterday, $217 million of net inflows as of yesterday. And you can see that Grayscale is having another green day, 4 million net inflows yesterday. BlackRock also back at the game, 22 million, Fidelity almost 100 million, and so on and so forth. Everything green here. Also Grayscale now, they seem to not want to give away their #1 rank as the largest Bitcoin spot ETF provider in the world. BlackRock was coming super close very fast, but now Grayscale is trying to turn it around. They're still losing ground here, but yeah, as of now, Grayscale is still there. Also keep in mind that the reason probably why a lot of people are exiting Grayscale is not only because there was a huge discount for a very long time, and a lot of these Bitcoin are 3-4x in the greens, but also because they have this very high fee, right? Which they set because they knew they already had $20-30 billion in their ETF. So they could afford this high fee because everyone else has a 0.25, 0.2% fee, but Grayscale 1.5%. So they are printing money like crazy. And eventually this fee will also come down. And then Grayscale has to also be competitive with the rest of the ETF providers, right? But yeah, that's also maybe on a side note why a lot of people are exiting Grayscale and maybe pump that money into BlackRock or even Fidelity or others that have also lower fees, right? And you can see that the total net assets that are held in these ETFs are currently $52 billion, right, as of May 6th. Is that you can also keep track of the Hong Kong Bitcoin spot ETFs as well as the Hong Kong Ethereum spot ETFs. And the Bitcoin spot ETF in Hong Kong is starting to slowly but gradually gaining steam. We are now at 4,150 Bitcoins that have gone into this ETF, which accounts to $267 million. And this is slowly but gradually going up. And I think as soon as mainland China investors have full access and can actually invest into this ETF, then I think we'll see a fast increase in those numbers and a lot more money flooding into those providers. But we have to wait and see how it evolves, but 267 million is not bad for Hong Kong. On the other hand, Ethereum has seen $55 million that are now in total net assets held in the Ethereum ETF, with 100 ETH in inflows as of yesterday and 17,280 in total from these three providers. So I think these growth numbers are interesting. And it also opens up the race between China and the US and eventually also other markets, right? We haven't seen anything from the European Union, right? They're a lot more conservative when it comes to that and a much slower. Also, the bureaucracy is a nightmare. Here in the UAE, also things are progressing fastly. So I think the more the SEC is messing around, the more Asia is, picking up and catching up to launch also more financial products. I think the more this kind of global race to the Bitcoin and crypto standard is growing faster and faster, right? So let's see, but these numbers definitely look very interesting. In that context, we also see the deadlines are starting to kick in this month. Which deadlines? Well, the deadlines for an approval by the SEC for an Ethereum ETF in the US. The fact that Hong Kong just approved an Ethereum ETF, the fact that, as of my understanding, the SEC already approved a futures ETF for Ethereum, now could indicate that the chances, even though nobody expects it, and I think if it doesn't get approved, nothing will happen. But if it gets approved against all odds, I think this would be a massive, massive bull signal for Ethereum and for all altcoins left and right. And if you look at some of the applicants here, we see that BlackRock is in here, Fidelity is in here, Grayscale is also in here to convert their Ethereum trust. So I guess this will be a similar scenario here and similar dynamics as we've seen with the Bitcoin spot ETF, FunAg, 21 shares, ARK. So the same players basically, and you can see the deadlines here are in May, right? May 23rd. So I think this is going to be the make or break for sell in May, go away. Obviously, if it gets rejected, probably we have a boring summer ahead of us. If this surprisingly gets approved, which to be honest, I also think, I'm also in the camp that I think there's probably a 10% chance. I think also prediction markets are giving it right now a 10, 11% chance. So 90% that it gets rejected. But if it would magically get approved, which to be honest could happen, then I think we'd have a massive, massive summer in front of us, right? Anyways, markets in Cosmos, if we look more specifically into the Cosmos ecosystem, also down slightly, but not that bad, to be honest. Celestia is still around $10, Atom 915, Fetch 244. Like I said in yesterday's video, Fetch is now the largest Cosmos chain, 6.15 billion, almost double the size of Atom. They did 2.5x their circulating supply. I'm not sure, I didn't look further into it. If you have any more information, what happened there, please let me know. But anyways, great to see Fetch, a massive project in the AI space. I also did a full-on interview, by the way, with Humayun, the CEO, around a year and a half ago, or something like that, a year ago. And it was very, very interesting and insightful. We're also running a validator, by the way, with Stakecito. You can delegate your FET tokens to us. And yeah, Fetch is a very, very interesting project for sure, as also we see AI is gaining a lot more steam, right? So here we are ranked 16 with Stakecito. You can delegate to us. Anyways, if we look further into some of the other Cosmos players, we can see the top winner has been Keychain XKI. I'm not sure, to be honest, what's cooking there, why it's pumping. I haven't looked into it. I think also liquidity is relatively thin for that. So let me know, please enlighten me if you know anything about Keychain. Sommelier up 7%, but still around 10 cents is absolutely wrecked the price. IXO, we talked about it a lot. How liquidity is super thin, and you know this is a super volatile token, a hot ball basically. Sentinel, nice to see, up 1% today. One of the most underrated privacy plays, veterans, I would say, in our industry, right? Been around forever, and they have a very, very strong product, I think, with their DVPN, decentralized VPN service that they're providing, especially in a world of geo-blocking, reaching all-time high after all-time high with every new airdrop that is getting out. And it's not just specific to the Cosmos ecosystem, that's happening in every crypto ecosystem, left and right, where regulatory scrutiny is taking crazy, crazy levels and dimensions. Xpla, also a gaming chain, which we should probably in the future do a more deeper kind of, or dedicated episode, I guess, to the gaming space in Cosmos, right? I talk a lot about Saga. We have Xpla there. We have Krafton with Settlers that's also going to launch, with a couple of games that are also already there. Strange Clan, obviously, built by the Passage team. Yeah, also up 1% today, and then Injective as well. And the rest is red. The rest is red. Nothing much is happening here. Anyways, I promised you a Dymension airdrop in this video, as you can see by the video title. And here it is. Mande Network, or Mande Network, I don't know how you pronounce it. Anyways, we're getting an airdrop, so we have to be fans now. Dime stakers, diamond hands, we're getting the airdrop as soon as, I guess in 2 days, right? This was from the 6th of May. We're getting it on the 9th. So that's literally on Thursday. The eligibility criteria was at least 15 dimes staked, and the snapshot was April 30th. Your Mande airdrop is going to be proportional to the square root of your dime stake. So if you have 100 dimes staked, you would receive 10 Mande tokens. This is all about that. I literally know absolutely nothing about the project, but you can check them out here on Twitter. On-chain credibility hub for Web3, powered by Dymension, with Celestia DA layer underneath. So see if you're eligible. Beware though of fake URLs. I keep talking about this all the time. The airdrop claiming game is super sensitive these days, because there's a lot of scams, a lot of fake URLs, fake profiles, fake websites. So a lot of phishing going on. You need to be really careful about that. But anyways, do your own research and yeah, see if you're eligible for that. Then we have some news from Picasso Network, an important update. Remember how right now they have 2 chains in production. Number one, they have their Kusama parachain, which is where they started, right? Picasso Network is the canary network to Composable. Composable was supposed to be their main chain that is going to launch as a Polkadot parachain. And in fact, they already have a Polkadot parachain slot. They just never used it until now, at least. But for their Kusama slot, they have used it to launch Picasso, which is where originally Pika was minted, deployed, and kind of, the first version of Picasso materialized. When they then rolled out Centauri, which is this IBC connection or IBC extension to connect Cosmos to the Kusama and Polkadot ecosystems, they figured out that the easiest would be to just launch a Cosmos chain, make that compatible with their Kusama parachain, and then be that the IBC hub between Cosmos, Polkadot, and Kusama, right? Because otherwise, they would have to go and pitch every single Cosmos chain to implement this Centauri bridge to make it compatible with their Picasso chain on Kusama, right? So that's why they launched this Cosmos chain, and that never really had a name, right? That never also really had big PR around it. But you've probably been using it if you used Picasso in the past. Now they decided to rename that Cosmos chain, which currently is just called Cosmos chain, to Picasso. And the prefix for that chain is also going to change to Pika. And from now on, they're saying that this is going to be referred to as the Picasso chain, the Picasso network, right? I think that moving forward, they will probably actually make this chain, this Cosmos chain, their new home, their new main chain, while the Kusama Picasso chain is going to be just their kind of receiving chain, the interoperability hub between Cosmos and Kusama and the rest of Polkadot, right? That's just from an architectural point of view. So everyone who's running a relayer or who's running auto-compounding on Pika, be aware that this is happening and see if there's any action that you need to take. That's all about Picasso. Now I have some airdrop news about SAGA. We talk a lot about SAGA. We talked about it yesterday, how they announced their Vault 1 for the SAGA airdrop itself. Vault 1 is only the SAGA token, and this is going to be the loyalty airdrop, where they're recycling some of the unclaimed tokens from the first SAGA airdrop. And now they're launching Vault 1 as, I guess, a proof of concept for their Vault idea to basically have one point from which you then do airdrops to all the ecosystem projects in SAGA, right? We already know that there are going to be 100 plus airdrops. Remember that there are nearly 400 projects already in the SAGA ecosystem, mostly gaming projects. And I guess Vault 2 will be the first cohort for some of these projects that will launch their token, right? It won't be just 100 random airdrops that you know nothing about, that have no liquidity, that will just be randomly showing up in your wallet. I think especially the first couple of cohorts or walls that are launching will actually be kind of flagship games in the SAGA ecosystem. And there will also be education around it. It will be gamified. You can already tell here it's a map. So this will actually be a game. This will be gamified itself because SAGA is focused on the gaming ecosystem. Well, it's not exclusive to gaming. It's optimized for gaming. And that's a huge void right now that SAGA is filling in Cosmos because gaming really doesn't exist right now. But yeah, this is Vault 1. And the claim is going live as soon as next week. So Rebecca has shared this in this 3-minute and 40-second clip here that she shared the other day. And I want you to listen to that clip and take note of some of the things that she's saying about airdrops. Then we also have some big news from Axelar Network, which also has been one of the better performers over the past week, 2 weeks when everything went down or sideways. Axelar, an interoperability hub that is native to the Cosmos ecosystem. They have their full-on Cosmos SDK chain. They're natively integrating IBC, but they're also expanding that to make it compatible with other chains outside of Cosmos, right? Now they came out and said Bitcoin, Hedera, and Polkadot will connect to Web3 via Axelar, and more specifically, Stacks, Hedera, Moonriver, and Iron Fish are going to be in the cohort 1 of the Axelar Interchain Amplifier Pilot Program, which I think is a program where they really want to onboard new chains that are outside of the Cosmos ecosystem and realize this multi-chain or interchain vision of being fully compatible and connect all chains. And the big news here is actually that Axelar is changing the game a little bit when it comes to interoperability, because instead of enabling interoperability on the protocol layer, they're now doing cross-chain connections via smart contracts on the brand new Axelar virtual machine, the AVM, which they call the interchain amplifier, that is currently in DevNet since about a week and will soon go on mainnet. With these launch partners in the first cohort, and I guess a lot more will follow up. But yeah, Axelar is definitely one to keep a close eye on if you're betting big on interoperability to really push the Cosmos vision, the interchain of the internet of blockchains, right? That philosophy over the finish line. Axelar really is at the forefront of that. Like I said, you can find a lot of Axelar content here on the channel. We did also recent updates about their AXL listing on Binance, which immediately shot up 64% to $2.54. Then we also talked about general news, but also there's a bunch of interviews, right? There's a bunch of interviews I did with Sergey. This, I think, is the most recent one around a year ago, so it might be time for another one. And then also we did one 2 years ago, even 3 years ago. The XL price relatively stable over the past week when everything went down, but yeah, still around 52% away from the all-time high, which happened 2 months ago. But remember that this coin also launched in the depth of the bear market, right? So AXL never has seen a bull run, and it has a $1.45 billion FTV. And if I pull up the wormhole chart, which I think is probably the closest competitor that's in production, they have a $6.5 billion FTV. They also launched at the bull run. But when they actually launched, the week they launched, they had a $15 billion FTV. So huge upside, I guess, for Axelar. And if you look at monthly IBC volumes that Axelar is pulling, you can see it's around $250 million. Also note and remember that Axelar is actually was voted as the canonical bridge on Osmosis like 2 years ago when they launched. So yeah, there's some close integrations there. You can also use Axelar technology if you want to do cross-chain swaps instantly, even between different ecosystems, like from Ethereum to Osmosis, different types of assets. Note that especially for the Ethereum swaps, there's a huge relay or gas fee, and it's still quite slow. But Axelar technology works. You can also use Squid Router, which is built by a different team, but I think they also got an early grant from Axelar, and they're fully using Axelar technology, closely aligned with the core team. So I think Squid is probably the best play and more cost efficient. And if you just want to generally learn more about Axelar, you can also visit the website. They also have close enterprise integrations. I talked about this a lot also on one of the more recent videos where they had this partnership announcement with Onyx by JP Morgan, MasterCard, Microsoft as well. Also RWA plays, Ondo, Provenance, Centrifuge, Circle, a lot of infrastructure partners. And obviously they're also now going down the route of kind of modularity, right? You saw it probably also here in the tweet. They say that this is basically the interchain amplifiers also built with kind of modularity in mind, right? So this is about the Axelar network. About the XL token itself, there's currently a 6.9% staking APR at a 4.8% inflation. There are 75 validators. With Stakecito, we're not actually one of them, at least for now, but it's definitely one that we have on our list to add on. But yeah, you can also see some more kind of stats here. $267 million in TVL. But there's also 2 great alternatives to Squid Router. One of them is TFM. They also allow you to do IBC swaps and transfers, and also Pro Trade, which is something I haven't tried out yet, but it looks really, really cool. And then also you have IBC.fun, which is built on Skip, the Skip API. And that's also super easy to use and very intuitive, especially if you're Cosmos native, right? Switching between all these chains. And especially I think in Cosmos, we need to keep abstracting a lot of these layers away because the UX is still very, very hard, right? This whole app chain philosophy means that every chain, every application resides on its own chain. So we need to get to a standard where people don't even have to worry and think about which chain am I on, right? It needs to be a monolithic experience in a modular and app chain world. That's where we need to get to with Cosmos. And I think we have some of the smartest people and smartest minds in our entire industry working on that. So very exciting times. I hope you enjoyed this video, you learned something. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Until then, stay safe and be good.